Those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen. Nerds International proudly presents.
We want to take you on a quest for knowledge. One that will take us from ancient medieval fantasy across the far reaches of space to the distant future. To many savage worlds.
Welcome to this bonus episode of the Wild Eye Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to Pinnacle Entertainment Savage Worlds, and we're aimed at veterans and beginners alike. Gary, my man, how's it going?
It's going well. You almost nailed the intro, which I'm really kind of impressed. You got a couple of words backwards.
So today, why are we doing a bonus episode? We haven't done any in a while, mainly because we've been busy. But we got a good reason for that, because we got some guests today from Doghouse Rule, and it's Chris Warner and, of course, Karl Keesler. How's it going, guys?
Good, man. How you doing? This is Karl.
And this is Chris. I'm good too.
Lovely. So these guys are here to talk about their company, and they got a brand new product coming out soon that everybody should be excited about. And we're gonna find out all about that during the show. In a little bit of news, Savage Rules related news, we've got a couple Kickstarters going on. We've got Kung Fu Animals, Save the World by Jason Blair, better known for Streets of Bedlam for Savage Worlds. He's also the Little Fears guy. He's been around for a while, so check that out. I think it's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Kung Fu Panda, that type of thing. Also, new Tabletop Adventures from Melting Point Publishing. This is a Kickstarter for a bunch of little adventures. And the more money the guy raises, the more adventures you get. And finally, from Feral Gamers, we had James on the show to talk about Zombie Squad last year, and he's got a new Kickstarter right now. It's called League of Seekers, and they've reached the point right now where you also get the Savage rules for that. So, got anything else, Gary?
No, I just
want to plug your show, the Murder Hobo Show.
No. I don't want to plug it.
You don't want to plug it?
No.
Doesn't need plugs, right? It's just that popular right now.
It's like the sunshine, man.
Right now.
Yeah, it's like the sun. You go outside and it's like, oh, there it is. It's just right up in your grill. I was going to say, I do like the Kickstarter deal there where, the more that he makes, the more adventures we get. That seems like kind of a fair deal, I think.
Yeah, and they're not specific to any settings, so it's like you can use those adventures for with just the core rules. So that's pretty cool.
Now, is it setting specific, or is it going to be just random adventures?
I just told you, Gary. I just said it's not setting specific.
But this is you speaking to me, French man.
You told me earlier today that you were forgetful. I guess you weren't lying, huh?
This is correct. Okay. And my name's not Ute. All right, so what are we doing today? What do we got going on here? We got some guests in the background. I can hear their chairs creaking.
Yeah, they're getting anxious here. Let's take it to the edge.
All right. That's enough out of you, Lamoureux. Taking it to the edge is what we're talking about here. So we have our guests. We got Karl and Chris coming on. Everybody knows Karl Keesler. They may not know Chris, but who cares? Because you know Karl. That's all that matters. Sorry, Chris.
No, you're right.
You've got now. This is going to be a Kickstarter, right? You're not just going to throw this up on like drive-through and go that route with it. This is going to be.
No, it's the latter, not a Kickstarter. We're pretty much finished with the product. We just posted a preview of it today that you can download for free.
Nice.
And then it'll be on sale pretty soon.
That's the 14-page PDF that we're looking at that me and Eric we're checking out today.
That is the one.
Yeah, it's actually really nice. It's well done, Karl. Once again, your brilliance shines through when you're looking at this PDF. It's pretty sweet the way that you've got it all put together. So
Karl
Doghouse
does all the hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The Doghouse Rules Frontier Towns, Fort Griffin is what we're talking about. So was this a setting that was created for a different rule set and you just savaged it by obviously converting it to Savage Worlds?
That's exactly right. So we originally had 3 different volumes of Frontier Towns for Fort Griffin, each of which has some establishments and characters in it and maps and all that kind of stuff that formed a full town. And we have been for a couple of years now working on turning it into a Savage World setting, and updated everything with Savage Worlds Deluxe. And Karl redid all the maps. So really, it's a revisioning of that setting for Savage Worlds campaign. And I have to say, the maps are beautiful. There's a couple examples in there. So Karl gets all the kudos for that.
You couldn't have hired a nicer guy.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been making products, role-playing game products for almost 15 years now. But like we say on our website, we're 5 guys with day jobs. And so Doghouse Rules is really sort of a hobby. We make a little bit of money, but really we're doing it because we like gaming and we like to share stuff. And so we don't do Kickstarters. At least we've never done that yet. We just make the products in our spare time and put them out for sale and try to get some of our effort back. Hopefully people buying them. So that's why this Fort Griffin Savaged is not a Kickstarter. We just took the time to rebuild it. Took our old 3 volumes that were for a different game system that we won't name, and maybe we'll name it later. But we took those 3 and we combined them into one cohesive product. And like I say, redid all the maps, added some settings rules for Savage Worlds, and it's really an Old West campaign, really an Old West setting, and it's designed to be played pretty straightforward, not Weird West, but we throw in some ideas from West in there. So you could play it either way you want. You could easily take it and go any direction you want with it. Most of the content is not related to the statistics. It's all about the town and creating possibilities for adventure and having fun and using the Savage Worlds rules to really go crazy in a Western town.
So this, I'm looking at the layout here. There's 152 pages of goodness. And to me, it looks like you've broken it down into sort of the building. So you've got the saloon, there's Shancy's Saloon. The building key, I'm assuming, is the GM's, Game Master's map that they can look at. And then you've thrown in the personalities, like who you're going to find inside this saloon, and then topped it off with the adventure hooks. So, a couple adventures that might take place in Shancy's Saloon. And it looks like, to me, that is the layout of the entire thing. So you've done it for Shancy's Saloon. There's the Beehive Saloon, Dooney Saloon. So you got 3 saloons in town. The Frontier House, a hotel, and then some outfitters. And every one of them has the same thing. They got a building map for it. And then you've got some personalities, the people you would find in it, and then some kind of adventure hooks that you could just spin off and and away you go, which is really cool because you could, if you so wanted to, drop this. Wow, there's a lot of here. Earl's Shave and Bath. I want to go there. Will Earl bathe me?
Well, and anything for a price.
Right? The Clampett's Wagon Yard is in here. There's a lot of stuff in here. There's a bank, a blacksmith, you got the jail, and then there's an extra, what is this, an extra 12 pages right at the end of just adventure hooks that don't really include the ones that already come with it. So this is...
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually call the last part you're talking about, the extra chapter, we call it tying it all together, just passing through and tying it all together. And we have additional personalities in there, additional NPCs, and adventure hooks that can tie the various establishments together. So, like you said, Shancy's, for example, that saloon has a couple of adventure hooks that we throw out there. They aren't fully developed adventures, obviously. They're hooks that you can, we like to call the GM the judge, so that the judge can take and run with. And that last section has additional ones that kind of combine the various personalities and establishments in town for more involved adventures.
Chris, just how many hooks are there, like, in the whole thing? There's a lot.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. I was just going to say that. So there's 17 establishments. There's 90 NPCs, personalities. Some are historical, some are fictional, and there's 115 adventure hooks.
Wow. Did
Wow.
Sheriff Lamoureux make it into the book?
That'd be a pretty lame sheriff. But,
No, you just break out the no sleeves McGee move on him, and you're good to go. Maybe instead of Sheriff
right.
Lamoureux, we could just call you like Sherrick or something like that.
sure. Wow.
Wow.
No, but
But-
what I like about this, what I found out by looking at this is, playing other, because there are a few Weird West games, and some of them, they have information about a town, but they don't go as in depth as you guys go. So this, to me, I see this as being very useful to GMs, where you can grab the city and put it pretty much anywhere on the map that you want, and you have this hub, this headquarters for your group, and everything starts with that many hooks too. You can just adventure in this town and never have to go anywhere else, right?
That's sort of the idea. And then you had earlier mentioned that you could take these and drop them in anywhere you wanted, and it's actually designed for that. So if you already had your own homebrew game, but you needed a saloon, you got 3 saloons to choose from, and you could just dump it in your town if you wanted to. Or you could, use them all together in one cohesive place, like you just said. And probably, there's enough adventure hooks in there to keep gamers busy for quite some time.
Yeah, they're not even half-ass adventure hooks. Like you kind of were like, well, they're just maybe enough to sort of get you going. But you can go check this out. The adventure hooks for Shancy's Bar, I believe. I'm not sure if this is or not, but I think it might be.
It is.
You've got Lottie Dino is playing poker, and she's accused of cheating by some fool braggart or clueless cowpoke who can't accept the fact that a woman just skinned him. One or more of the characters could be playing at the same table or watching nearby, thus becoming involved in some altercation in some fashion. That's enough to get you going. It's a little bit more than just sort of maybe like a little one-sentence kind of a jib. I do like this one here too, the big brawl, because this happens in every Western movie where someone bumps into someone spilling a drink, and then it's just game on. Isn't that how every bar brawl starts? One guy spilling a drink on somebody.
Exactly, or calling somebody a name, or who knows what, right? And we actually have a section in there. I don't think it's in the. No, I'm pretty sure it's not in the preview, but we actually have a setting rule about barroom brawl and ideas about how you might incorporate some tricks or special moves like the bar top slide, the
Nice.
finger in. The spit in your eye, whatever you want to make up.
Chris,
certainly a barroom brawl be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, Chris did a good job with relating that to Savage Worlds too. He really incorporated the Savage Worlds rules into that, the barroom borrow stuff pretty good.
So, we're pretty proud of it. Like I said, these have been around for a while, and a lot of the content is game system independent. But we wanted to, we play Savage Worlds, and so we wanted to sort of adapt it to that environment, and so we basically turn it into a setting for Savage Worlds, and lots of stuff you can do in the town. I might mention that we also have some products called Buckshots, which are fully fleshed out adventures, and a couple of them could easily be combined with the towns. Like you said, that could be your base of operations in Fort Griffin, and then you could do your own adventures, or you could spin one of the hooks into a bigger adventure, or just do stuff in town, or you could take one of our Buckshots and do something that would be nearby that town, and then back to the base of operations afterwards. So it's really designed to be used in any way you can dream up using it. And like you say, that one Shancy's hook, or a couple of the hooks you read from Shancy's Saloon, those are just a couple of the 115 that we have in there. And we have something I like to point out called Forks in the Road, and there is an example of that in the Shancy's preview, where you could take the hooks that we already laid out in another direction. And so that's where we incorporated some of the Weird West, where we might say, maybe you give one of these characters a weird background that they really don't advertise. It's hidden. They don't make a big deal about it, but they have these powers that may influence the game. So if you wanted to put a weird twist on it, we built in some stuff that you could do that pretty easily. And so lots of people play Deadlands. We think people that play a Deadlands game could easily incorporate our content into their game if they wanted to. And we even tip our hat to Deadlands and other products. We're not going to pretend there isn't other stuff out there, obviously. So part of our goal is to make sure that this could be used by anybody, any judge, any GM that wants to use it any way they want to use it. I would submit that you could even play it in a fantasy realm if you wanted to, and just change the flavor. So instead of a saloon, it's the tavern, and the personalities, you just change them a little bit to fit that. So it's really designed with that flexibility in mind.
Yeah, I can think of Firefly too. Yeah, why not?
Oh, yeah, Firefly, one of my favorites. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that answers one question that we had from Manuel. Manuel's on the show, but he's in Germany, so he's sleeping right now. But I still ask the guys if they had questions, and I guess that answers it. Will there be weird stuff, or is it pure mundane Wild West? So yeah, it is mundane, but you do have some hooks to make it more Weird West. But that leads me to a question, because I mean, usually with Savage Worlds, you see everything is like usually something mundane, and then they put a supernatural twist to it. Usually it's just zombies. It's the war plus zombies, the West plus zombies, right? But so what makes you guys think that even without the supernatural, this can be really an exciting setting to play in?
That's an interesting question. I might ask Karl to chime in, since he's being kind of quiet. I think one of your friends had run some of our stuff in a mundane Wild West game that you played in, right?
Yeah, it was actually this pre conversion. It was Mark. He helped us on the conversion of it.
That's right. We give him a credit too.
Yeah, Mark Olson. He helped us in converting this over to Savage Worlds, and he did some of the work with stats and stuff like that. But if you look at Savage Worlds, I mean, it's pulpy action, and he ran a Western game pretty much almost the same way. It was very much action oriented, and you don't need the other stuff. You don't need the horror. I mean, it's fun, sure. I love Deadlands. I own like all their books, and but just running a straight up Western there is so much to do, in just a town like this that we created, that you can run like a campaign like as long as you want. I mean, you could just never leave the town, and there's always something to do.
How long did you guys run in Mark's game?
Oh gosh, it was probably a year and a half that we just played in Fort Griffin. I mean, we never left the town. There was always something to do.
There's enough stuff in here you wouldn't have to leave the town, which is sort of like an appealing thing to me, because when you're playing Deadlands spans sort of the continental North America, I guess, because there is some Pacific Northwest stuff. You head up into Canada, you go down into Mexico and whatnot in the different areas and stuff, but you never really get the feel for one town. Back to Eric's question though, with the Weird West and stuff like that. I would answer that question along the lines of, are you tired of the same old sort of Deadlands Weird West kind of stuff? Are you tired of shooting big worms and stuffed animals that come after you, maybe some kind of critter in the night? Or you got tired of some crazy some weird ghost-like mummy looking thing, and you just want to shoot some regular old men, women, and children in the face? This is the place to go to, right? You
or
don't
smash
always
them in the
men
head
and
with a beer
women.
mug or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying not to
Children.
I'm just trying not to be
It's
sexist.
funny because I remember every time I run Deadlands for new people, new players that never played it, the first thing they want to do is play, like a gunslinger. And it doesn't take long for them to realize that their little bullets usually don't do much against most of the monsters in Deadlands. So this is a game where you can have a gunslinger and actually be, good at what you do, be useful.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I like that idea. Yeah.
Pop a cap in somebody's ass, so to speak, and before you know it, you're running the town. I noticed that there's not a brothel in here. Is there a reason why there's no brothel in town? Oh, there
is. The Beehive Saloon is a brothel.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
okay. I got you. I think you didn't add those pages into the sampler here, which.
We can't give you everything, right? I mean,
yeah. I was just kind of hoping to see Carl's.
I'll send you those pages, Gary.
I was just kind of hoping to see Carl's renditions of some hot old Western ladies.
Yeah, you reminded me of something else
sticky
too.
pages.
Why you got to go that far, Eric?
Talking about a regular Old West, a mundane, if you will, Old West. I mean, if you're a fan of the Western film, and you've watched any kind of Western movie, you think about all the action that occurs in there. You can easily place yourself, think of yourself as a character, whether you're a Clint Eastwood character or a John Wayne character or somebody from, how come it just went right out of my head? Lonesome Dove. Mm-hmm. All of those things are fairly epic stories. And, there's no weirdness in there. Now you might have something like Briscoe County that had weirdness in it. But that weirdness was sort of, on the edge, right on the fringe. And so, you could incorporate that kind of thing into the game if you wanted to, but you could play it straight up. Yep, this is a Western. We're guys with guns, and we got bad guys. There's still bad guys out there to kill. They might not be quite as obvious. I actually run a Western game on online, play by post, role play online. And I've been running that for years, and I have players that play in it, and they said, I never thought a Western game, just plain old Western, would be so compelling. But one of the things they find out is that, when you don't have orcs and kobolds running around, or big worms to kill, like you said, sometimes the enemy isn't all that clear. Mm-hmm. And, that puts a twist on the role playing where you're not quite sure who's the bad guy and who's the good guy.
That's why I love the campaign that we played in, the Fort Griffin campaign we played in. It was very much like that. It was very much like Lonesome Dove, and the action didn't stop. I mean, and you didn't know, you really had to role play. I mean, yeah, if you see some undead zombie gunslinger come at you, you're going to draw down on him. But if it's another guy, you might not be so inclined to do that. You have to really think things out and, really role play the situation. So
the other thing too is when you know that if you're going up against a foe or an enemy, your bullets are going to take them down. So there's none of this sideways stuff where you got to go find the key of Jahalzar in some sunken desert. You know what I mean? Like, there's just none of that. Most of the westerns that we've grown up with, or at least that I've grown up with over the days, they're all. There's enough material there in those old westerns that you could weave many tales through those old school westerns. Well, and 150 little plot point ideas to go at it too. I do notice that you've got so obviously this is just humans, males, females. There's nothing else, but I see you've got Chen's Laundry in here. So there some Indians and stuff, I'm assuming too. I can see. Oh yeah, there's a couple of different little Indian names I see popping up in there. So.
Yep.
You could be basically from anywhere. I don't know. I don't want to be racist or I guess any ethnic background would roll in here. You could have the Germans if you wanted to be like from Django Unchained or something like that.
Yep. No, absolutely. That's correct. We have characters. By the way, it is an historical setting. Fort Griffin was a real place, and the Flat was a real place, and it was a real frontier town. So we borrow a lot of stuff from history and then, take liberties with it, of course. But yes, the Fort Griffin area was pretty well integrated, actually. And there was an African-American population there, and there were local tribes that were friendly or unfriendly, and the Comanche were in that area. So, you got all kinds of possibilities there. And, a player could be any one of those things. And, we have characters in there that are from Indian tribes or different ethnicities. And in fact, there's a African American Methodist Episcopal Church in town, which is one of the establishments. And we have some adventure hooks built around that too. So pretty much like you said, you think about all the movies you've seen and all the ones we just mentioned, and there's all kinds of plot lines you can build into a pretty compelling Western game.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah. I like that it's drilled down into one city. Like, you could literally, like I said before, you're not spanning across North America. You don't show up in a town, do an adventure, and then spend 3 days telling your players that they're on their way across the plains or whatever to get to the next city to find more adventure or something like that. There's so much stuff to do in this town. Hey, Eric, there's a question here on 148, a little adventure hook that says the French Connection. So there's a little hat tip to the Frenchies. What do you think? What do you think of that?
Yeah.
I expected you to say I'm French, not. Okay. There it is. I was just going to say I expected you to say I'm not French.
Whatever.
I want to add a building into this town. If you wanted to throw in some kind of some sort of weirdness to it, one of the things that you could do is just create like an oddities and curiosities shop and just go from there. Because you want to get your fortune told, and you put in your 2 bits or whatever, and that could spawn numerous adventures, and it can be sort of weird in like an X-Files kind of way where nothing ever gets proven. It's all presupposition, I guess. You're always like supposing things.
Yeah, I like that idea. It's under the surface, and you really can never really be sure whether it's weird or not. I love your idea too. That'd be a great place. We have something similar to that, the post office and drugstore. The drugstore is kind of a curiosity. If you look at the adventure hooks that we list there for that, Dr. Jet and Mr. Hyde.
Oh yeah.
There's one called Kaboom. So we have the weird edge to it, and that's how I like to think about it. It's under the surface, it's on the fringe. There's weirdness there if you want it, but you can play it straight Old West if you want to.
Yeah, you put in.
Here's a question for Karl.
Okay.
Yeah, question for Karl here, because I remember Well, that's over a year ago, if not 2 years ago. I remember when you first started making the maps for that, and you would share them. And I mean, we all know your talents and your job and all that, but I remember you saying that making maps like this, like the ones you're making, and they look gorgeous, was all new to you. Is that right?
Yeah, I had experimented with my home games and stuff like that. I didn't do the maps for these originally. I think they were done in Campaign Cartographer, I think.
That's correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
And I've been experimenting with virtual tabletop type maps, give it a more realistic effect. So I've been doing that for my home game and just printing them out. And I figured out a way to do it in Photoshop. And so I did all these maps, by hand in Photoshop, and just there was a lot of them, but it was fun. It was really cool to get them done. So I'm really, really excited so people can play on them.
We should talk about that some more too, because part of what we're doing here is that the full maps are embedded in the product, as you saw in Shancy's. But at the very end of the preview, we show one of the tiles, and so Karl has built all these maps. We have a couple of PDFs that will come with the main product that have maps in them with grids and without grid that can be used either for VTT, or you can print out the tiles one by one and assemble a tabletop map that you can use with miniatures or tokens or whatever. So
the maps are coming in three different ways, like you said, VTT, grids, and one without grid. So it's very versatile for whatever you want to use them for.
I know a bunch of guys in Spain that use a lot of VTTs and play a lot of Deadlands. So these guys are going to be pretty happy, and that comes with. It's included, right? You don't have to pay extra.
Exactly.
Nope, that's included. Okay. It's going to be one whole product.
Included.
You get the main product, the 150 pages you talked about. You get the various map products, which there's really three different map products that all come with it. And then Karl also built these character cards, personalities we call them. And so the personalities that are in the main product, we also have the cards. The very last page of the preview shows a couple of the same characters that we showed earlier, John Shancy and Lottie the Poker Queen Dino. And so, a judge, a GM could easily print those out and have them handy for the combat and all that. All the stats are there. Or if you were giving a character for somebody to play temporarily one night or something like that, you could hand that card right over to the character.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
Pre-gens.
all that comes all in the product that we're offering all together.
Karl, I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed that you did this in Photoshop. I would have sworn that you did it in Campaign Cartographer, and I just want to give you some kudos because, dude, you nailed it. This literally, it looks like something that I've spent a lot of time making maps in Campaign Cartographer, and that's totally what this looks like. Well done, man.
Thanks.
That's great stuff.
Well, I got a lot of the artwork from the old Dungini boards and stuff like that, and I made some myself, and just using Photoshop skills and just pieced it together, and it's a labor of love. I really love doing that stuff. So
how many maps?
There's 17 maps.
Well, there's 17 establishments. Some of them have more than one floor. Some of them have two floors.
Right, exactly.
So something like 20, 22 maps, I think.
Yeah.
Every building has its own sort of map for it. Then is what I'm getting from this.
That's correct.
Right.
Those would be sort of like they're called building keys. I'm assuming inside of the that would be the GM's deal. So if I was to look at the building key, it would show you the rooms, and then you would have a list of whatever they are and stuff like that. That's
right. That's not in the preview because we didn't want to give too much away. But we do. The preview does show you Shancy's map, and you can see the numbers on it. And then the building key explains, what's in each area of the map, and really, I'll say so myself, in a great deal of detail that gives the judge a lot of ideas about how to run the place. I would say it's interesting reading, just reading about what's in each establishment, and then you can take it from there.
Yeah, when I was building the maps, I read the descriptions, and Chris did a really good job in the descriptions, and I'm like, oh, I can add this to it. Now I can add, okay, this room, the woman has everything in blue, so let me make everything in blue on the map, and her curtains, and there's a spittoon in this corner, so let me put a spittoon there. Chris was very meticulous and really laying it out and giving the judge really a good idea what's in every room and what the establishment really feels like and what it will look like.
So
the idea. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say the idea being that the GM reads it, feels like he has been there before.
Yeah.
Knows what to do in the place, and then can play the NPCs and play the establishment. With the player characters.
Let's. I was just curious to know because this is a Wild West setting. What are we talking Wild West? Is there an era that it's set in? I think I read the 1870s or something.
That's correct. We set it in circa 1877, and that is because this particular historical location, Fort Griffin, and the town, which is the locals call the Flat, that in its heyday was from like late 1860s to early 1880s, and it's a ghost town now. So we basically set it in that time. We actually have some sidebars in there where we talk about timing. There's one in the preview, timing schmiming. And so our point there is not all of these establishments, a lot of these establishments were real. We took liberties in how we described them and all that, but they were real places at that time. And we're not bothered that one of them might have been there in 1873 and another in 1877. We just say, don't worry about that. Just put them all in your town and use them the way you want to use them. But it is generally set at that time period. Now, I think you could change the time period if you wanted to, but that's how it's built.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the area would be northern Texas?
Yes, north central Texas. The Brazos River went right through there.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're a big fan of Deadlands takes place in a similar time zone. So just to port this right into a Deadlands campaign that you might already be running, or if you've played Deadlands and you're looking for more of another sort of a Western setting to get your sink your teeth into, this would be just a perfect just cross right over into this, and you would already sort of have the idea. There's chuck wagons and horses, and there's no tricks. Nothing to learn. It's a town that's like an extremely fleshed out town. Oh, there's even the map in here. I saw this map earlier, but I wasn't really paying too much attention to it.
I know some people that don't care about the supernatural, so this is perfect. They just want a straight up one.
There's a lot of room for expansion too on that map. If you notice on the map of the Flat, there's a lot of empty buildings. So if the players wanted to start their own business or whatever, they could just, the GM, the judge can just say, okay, well, it's on this corner right here, right next to whatever establishment. So
right. So we named the establishments, but we only described 17 of them in the book. So there's 17 fully fleshed out, but the town, has 50 places on the map, and so the GM can fill in the gaps there, or like Karl said, the players might even open an establishment. Who knows what? So that's again, it's designed for flexibility.
Savage setting rules. Is there anything that you guys have added in? I noticed that you've kept guts or brought guts back. I think they took it out. Guts is your fear check in Deadlands, but is there anything that you've added in? Any special Savage settings or any rules?
There's a few in there, like you said, guts. We actually, thought guts was a good part of the game, and especially in a Western setting. And so we're suggesting you put that back in. If you don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to. You can play it however you want, but we're suggesting that. There are a couple other things that we did in there. We added a couple of edges, a couple of hindrances. We talk about some weapons and some things that there may be similar ones in other products, but the way we felt about it was, we're trying to provide something that can be played all by itself, and you shouldn't have to go to another product. So we would go ahead and provide our own description, our own stats for something like a slingshot or Reed's Knuckle Duster, which is a brass knuckles that have a gun built in. That was a real thing. Yeah. So, we have some stuff like that thrown in there. We also note that the Knuckle Duster, that yes, you can use it as brass knuckles or as a gun, but not at the same time.
So if I wanted to...
that'd be a bad idea.
That would be a bad idea.
If I wanted to have a showdown on Main Street with that no good lower in the snake's belly Eric Lamoureux, is there special setting rules where I could put a hole in that worthless worm?
We don't go to that degree. No, I mean, I was actually listening to your recent podcast, and you were talking about some of the special ways you can do combat in Savage Worlds, and our feeling was there's plenty in Savage Worlds already to do that. Think about how you want to run a showdown and use the rules you already have.
That's cool.
So we didn't.
I was going to say I'd probably just poison him anyway, so maybe blow him up with some dynamite when he wasn't looking.
There you go. Just drop something in his drink at Chancy's.
That's right.
There you go.
I'll go visit him in his curiosity shop and throw some dynamite through the front door. What do you think of that action, Lamoureux?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of a snake.
I'd be screwed. I'd be screwed. One more question, too, that we got from Harrison. And I mean, you guys don't really know him, but it's not really related to what's going on, but he wants to know. Carl's like, oh, no. He wants to
I listened to the podcast, buddy.
Yeah. It's like, what is your favorite non-dairy, non-meat-based snack?
Chris would be great with this.
Yeah, because I don't eat dairy. Or meat.
Yeah.
What does that leave, Chris? What does that leave?
Ice cubes.
Yeah. Well, my favorite food in the whole world is toast. So there you go.
I don't
Isn't
know.
there dairy in there, though?
No.
No?
No, it's bread, right?
Milk? No. Just water. Oh, yeah.
Water, salt, wheat.
So it's it's a snack? You dip it in something? Like beans?
Sometimes beans, maybe. Plate full of beans.
Okay. What about you, Carl?
Oh my god.
I'm at a loss for words, Chris.
No yeah. He probably had no idea.
I'll just go with plain tap water.
Tap water.
Tap water and toast. What, you guys in prison?
That's supposed to be a secret.
Maybe some corn nuts.
Oh,
look good.
Yeah. Oh.
Wow. So at least it wasn't the ice cream this time. Usually it's the ice cream.
Well, that's dairy, right? I mean, we can't pick that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I'm just saying usually that's what he asks. So.
Oh yeah, the ice cream question. Yeah.
Good old Harrison. Yowza.
So what's next for you? Are you going to take a break now that you've come out of your hiding?
I'd like to do more stuff. I think Carl, the same. He and I have been talking. I've got a couple of ideas. Yeah. I've been playing around with maybe some more one-shot adventure sort of things. I got an idea about ghost towns. So I've been doing some research on some ghost towns. And again, it would be the same kind of thing, a mundane setting, but one that you could take in different directions. So that's an idea I'm toying with right now.
Yeah, I'm for sure down with doing some more maps and layouts and getting some more product out there. I'm really enjoy working with Chris. He's a top-notch guy to work with, man. He knows his stuff. So
yeah, serves up a mean buffet of toast and water.
Right.
Out of the 150 adventure seeds that you have here. Have you got any favorites?
115.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, 115, 150 apples, oranges.
115. 115.
Have you got any favorites?
Yeah, I do actually. The Uncle of All Practical Jokes is one of my favorites. There's a murder mystery that I like. I actually ran that murder mystery in my online game. That was pretty fun. Those are the ones that come to mind immediately.
I like the ones with the daughter from the forget her name from the.
From the Outfitters, Angel.
Yeah, that was really cool. Some of the stuff the GM that I played with, he used her a lot. It was really cool. So.
Yeah, the daughter of one of the people that works at the Outfitters. Her name is Angelina, and we have a couple of different hooks that you can work in with her.
She got in trouble a lot.
There's on page 143 here in the table of contents, it says handicaps. What's that all about? Because I'm just imagining some dudes in old wooden wheelchairs getting rolled out into the middle of the street.
I sort of like that better, but it's actually a poker handicap table.
Yeah.
It's just if you look a little closer, you'll see table 1.3 poker handicaps.
This is why they don't let me write adventures. There's saloons in town, and there's some famous gamblers that are in town if the judge wants them to be. So one of the suggestions we have is a poker tournament, and we actually lay out two ways you could play it. You could play it by actually sitting around and playing cards if you like to do that. And we had some ways to handicap that. So if you had the gambling skill, for example, you get to pick an extra card every turn from the deck. So you'd have 6 cards in your hand instead of 5. So that's the handicap there for people who have gambling skill. If you have a super duper gambling, have a D12 gambling skill, then you get to pick 2 extra cards and so on and so forth. So that's what that was. So I guess that is sort of a settings rule. Yeah, I'm just sort of skimming through the table of contents and just looking at some of the adventure hooks names, which is pretty neat. And there's Grandma Beard's Ghost. Yowza. One of the ones that I came across was Rent a Thug. That would actually, just brings to mind. Maybe you got to go. Somebody pisses you off and he rents a thug, and you go to collect your money, and he's like, "No, you got to beat up my thug here." There's lots of stuff in here that's just as this game is for grown-ups. That's pretty. Jay has a few too many. Eric has a few too many, and then you got to beat up a loudmouth crazy Frenchman. This is really all about Eric tonight for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sorry, Eric. The bank's being robbed. Mysterious visitor. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. Kangaroo Court, money laundering. These are just some of the adventure hooks that are listed in this book. And then those are just the ones that are under adventure hooks. There's a lot of material in this, judging by what I'm looking at. Kaboom.
So much freaking content, huh, Gary?
Well, I've just named off like 17 different adventures that you can do. You guys seriously should hire me to write some of this stuff.
It's all good. No, so this is the type of source book I like, because for GM it's really paradise, right? You just pick what you need and go with it. There's enough for a whole campaign, and you don't even need to insert anything supernatural in there. So I'm glad you guys came on the show to talk about this, to discover that, expand our horizons.
Yeah, thanks for having
us. Yeah,
when is
fun talking.
When is this product coming out? I know that you said it's all finished, but it's going to be another month before you guys release this.
Yeah, March is what we've been saying to each other,
March.
And I don't see why that wouldn't happen. I would say first week of March or thereabouts.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think it's a
pretty
fantastic idea. I really like the fact that you guys have just sort of like delved down deep into the inside workings of an old West town. You've got everything from the post office and the drugstore to the bakeries. There's a couple of saloons. You got the hotel. Again, you want to throw in your own places. There's Chen's. Well, here's Chen's Laundry. You got a livery. That's where. What is a livery? That's where you go to buy stuff for the horses.
Yeah, or stable a horse. Yeah,
stable a horse and stuff like that. Earl's Shave, Clampett's Wagon Yard, the church, the bank. There's just like every building that you could think of in an old West town. You've tossed in here, and you could do any number of things, which is really nice. This is more of a. I mean, I know it's a full-on setting, but talk about not only a great setting, but a wicked source book to have.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it was sort of inspired by. I'm old enough to remember some of the source books that came out way back when I first started playing D&D when I was like 12 years old, and there were source books like that out there that just threw out some establishments and stuff, and I was inspired by those, and that's how all the frontier town stuff started. So that's
all the characters. Too.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters in here that are already pre-built. Every little area has its own personality, which is again also cool. Your players want to roll in, feel like they're part of the town. Let them play one of the personalities in one of the areas or something like that. There's
Chris even put in a bunch of historical figures that actually were noted to go through Fort Griffin, like
Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday, Bobby Deno.
Yeah.
Big Nose Kate.
Yeah, Big Nose Kate. Yep. John Chansey himself is a historical character. And actually, a number of the people you mentioned, Clampett's Wagon Yard, Clampett, that was a real person in the flat. So we took liberties, of course, but...
didn't they strike oil and move to Hollywood?
That yeah. Actually, we have a sidebar called Now Listen to the Story.
You also mentioned...
That's another thing. We do have a lot of sidebars. We have a lot of historical sidebars and just tidbits so the judge can add some flavor to the town and get a really good feel for what's happening.
Yeah, you mentioned that this was just part of a bigger setting. Have you got is there going to be more towns in the future? Do you just pull this out of something and then just sort of drill down into this frontier town? Is there other things that you're going to do with this coming out in the future? And I'd also like you to speak about the modules that you had, because modules are my thing, man. That's my bag.
Okay. Well, so originally we did think that maybe we'd do more than one frontier town, but we continued to flesh out just this one in a source book sort of style, like you said. So we had three volumes previously that are now all combined into this one new Savaged volume. So I would love to do more of this. I've looked at other towns. Like I said, I had the ghost town idea in mind. And so possibly fleshing out other towns nearby here, or just putting out shorter things, maybe one establishment at a time that you could add in. So those are all ideas. But again, we're five guys with day jobs. So how many of those will actually get done is questionable. But as far as the modules, we do have three adventures that we would call buckshots, and we have savaged versions of those. And we also sell a bundle where you can get all three of them. One of them is called Johnny Comes Marching Home, and that's an introductory adventure. So basically, we're saying you just got home after the Civil War, and you managed to survive, and you're trying to get back home. But when you get back home, you find out you still got one more battle to fight. Then we have one called Hidden Canyon, which is intermediate level, and that is I don't want to go too much into it, but it's really a traditional Western. Track down and defeat the outlaws, rescue the girl, that sort of thing. And then we have another one that is actually set in Zion National Park. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but very cool place. And then we have one more called For Whom the Bugle Blows, and that is an adventure set on the Texas Plains. Could easily combine with the Fort Griffin adventure, and it's a quick hitting adventure. And we don't want to tell you too much about it, but it involves the Comanche.
Nice.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we were just talking about snacks earlier. Bugles. I like those.
Wow. Hey, you know.
Sorry.
You want to?
Well, the bugle snack was the inspiration for the module. So
There you go.
I kind of got nothing, but all I can really say is like Pringles kind of look like horse saddles.
they do. They do. You're right.
All right. Well, this is getting
Are we gonna derail this like a train? Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yo, motherfuckers, you all best back up. I always got a gun, I always come strap up. This ain't a game of pool, it ain't no time for no rack up. It's the motherfucking time for the motherfucking wrap up. Anyone who disagrees will get smack up. See me back in school when I shouldn't have learned to add up. Found a gun on the floor, instead I picked that up. Anyway, sorry, I'm motherfucking back up. What I'm trying to say is it's time for the wrap up. Yeah, this one goes out to all the ladies and all the men out there. Everyone in the front row, grease up. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's all we got for this show. I'd like to thank you guys, Chris and Karl, for coming out. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you and checking out your new Fort Griffin. I will definitely be purchasing this because I was actually running some Deadlands. I was doing the first part. Can't remember what it's called now because it's been a while. My Flood? The Flood, yeah. I was doing the Flood. And some of the stuff that you find that you come across in town, I had to make it all up right off the top of my head. So it's going to be nice to have this for, well, not only building your, if I need it for a little side room or a side building or something like that I want to throw my players into. I'm also going to have it if I just want to roll my players right into Fort Griffin and start my own little adventure right in there. That's good stuff. I'm really looking forward to this when it comes out.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
It's great. Anytime I get to hang out with Karl Keesler, I mean, you can't say no to that.
There you go.
Meet Chris.
That's how I feel too. Karl, he's a celebrity pretty much. So
He is.
Yeah.
I was asking Karl before the show, and I'll get you to reiterate what we were talking about earlier, but you're really well known for putting stuff together. Like your Goonies thing was really cool, and all of the set pieces that you build for your con stuff. So oddly enough, when I asked you about it, you're doing Lamoureux's bada bing, bada boom, forget about it deal there.
Yeah, that's a freaking excellent adventure. I'm just tweaking, putting my own spin on a little bit of it, but otherwise it's pretty much his adventure I'm running. I'm adding miniatures and maps and cards and bennies and all kinds of craziness. But
what's the name of the little miniatures that you cut up? They had the big bases on them.
HeroClix.
Yeah. Are you going to make like a token Eric Lamoureux HeroClix villainous guy? Maybe he's the guy you throw in the trunk.
Yeah. It's got no sleeves.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Post some pictures of that up to the. Yeah, post some pictures of that up to the Googles.
Of course.
That'd be funny. Hey, thanks, folks, for listening. And here's some contact info in case you want to get in touch with us. We always appreciate your feedback. And, get in touch with us. We're so lonely. So, first, our email address, thewildeye@gmail.com. You can also find us on the Google Plus and in the Nerds International community on Google Plus, and also on Twitter @TheWildEye. And finally, our Patreon, patreon.com/TheWildEye. Thanks for everybody that supports us. It means a lot to us. It allows us to make a better show and give out prizes and all that. And don't forget, we've got the contest for Saga of the Goblin Horde. Send us your your song, your lyrics to the song, and the winners will get their songs sang by Harrison. And speaking of patrons, let's hear the jingle.
Sean Richards, Sawyer, Tony Fanning, Rob Towle, John Peterson, Manuel Sams, David Maurice, Garrett, James Clark, Peter Beckett, Peter Adams, Tom Lewis, Perry Chalmers, Digital Dungeon Master, Eli Kurtz, Matthew J. Hanson, Wanson Beats, John Steve, Gil Muggle, Owen Lee, Andy Hall, Christopher Gray and Bubbles, Gil Dashard, The Farquhar, Conrad Erasmus Neubert. This list is getting long. Why don't you suck my lollipop collection? Beep. Here are some outtakes. Peter Adams, Tom Lewis, Terry Beep. Mongrel, Owen Lean, Andy Hall, Christopher Gray, Gail Beep. Rob Towle, Peterson.
So, yeah, thanks again, guys. Hope we can do this again, maybe in a little bit, a new product, something else, or just hang out and geek out. So good luck with the product.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, when the podcast goes live, check out the show notes, and then you can come and see where we're hosting. And then, Carl, you should sign up. We can play some online role playing games together.
For sure, man. I'll look into that.
That didn't sound very convincing, man.
Yeah.
That kind of felt like you sort of were like, yeah, just sort of trying to appease me.
That's my best convincing voice.
Wow.
That's an on-air yes, and then off-air is like, no, I'm too good for that, guys. I don't do online games.
No, for sure. I'll check it out.
I just all of a sudden don't believe you, Carl.
Just messing with you.
Wow.
This is Eric saying... It's all good. This is Eric saying, short mobsters get paid under the table.
I'm looking at episode 42, and I prefer that one better. This one, it says, this is Eric saying, I feel pretty in my yoga pants. I think you should have went with that one.
That's the one for Harrison. I don't wear yoga pants. I just don't wear pants.
You don't have to lie to us. It's okay. Harrison paints his fingernails. You wear yoga pants. Before you know it, this is going to be like the Crazy Wild Guy podcast. All right. Thanks again, Carl. I probably won't see you after this for not signing up to my virtual convention and never playing with me online. But, Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I'll look into it.
Well done, Lamoureux. All right, guys. This is Gary saying, keep your pants on. Keep it fun. Thanks, everybody. We're out.
Wild Die Podcast is not affiliated with or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group or official Pinnacle licensees. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of the respected owners. All music and artwork is used with permission of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of the Wild Die Podcast.